All right, here we go. Looks like we're probably about ready to start. So, hello and welcome. This is going to be Mega Man ZX, ran by Amesiyo, and I will be doing English commentary. My name is Flameburger. The run's going to be done on the PC version of the Legacy Collection that came out not too long ago, which is actually like really terrific adaptation, especially for speedrunning. Like, gameplay-wise, it's exactly identical to the original. We're going. Okay. The intro stage. Pretty much what you would expect gameplay-wise here. Just regular old Mega Man jumping and shooting. The boss does have some pretty interesting things to talk about, though. So, anytime we skip a cutscene in this game, the random number generator is going to get reset to a consistent value, which means that the patterns we get on those boss fights are going to be consistent. They will not be random. That doesn't necessarily mean that the pattern we get will be what we want to see. So there are a few cases where the runner will take an action that will affect the RNG, like bouncing that lemon off the snake's body. In cases like that, it's just a way for us to affect the otherwise fixed patterns that the boss would have and get something that's more favorable. Although you will find most of the boss fights in this run are very short and to the point, so there aren't actually that many cases where we need to worry about doing that sort of thing. One of the main features of this game is that you will collect various models over the course of it that let you like mimic characters from past games in the series, like X, Zero, and the 4 Guardians from the Zero series. Right now at the beginning though, all we have is Model X, so ability-wise we're pretty limited. It's got the Buster, and it can charge up, and that's about it. But that's alright. It works well enough for what we need to do here at the beginning. This mission in particular, there aren't even hardly any like enemies or anything to worry about. You just have to run around the town and find these NPCs. I guess I should clarify that we do have one other form that we just saw there, which is the character's human form, which has no weapons or other relevant abilities other than it can crawl. Like you can crawl when you're in the human form, and you can fit through the small spaces like that. And then also there are some NPCs like this guy who get spooked by robot people, and you have to talk to them in human form. The reason why we picked Ale as our playable character out of the two is that she actually crawls slightly faster. And then like the upside to the other character event is that when you get knocked back, you don't go as far with him. Both of them are like extremely minor differences that don't really have a huge influence on the run, but the crawl speed is technically a small time save. Okay, so that wraps up the hide-and-seek sequence, then we can move on to a mission that has a little bit more action in it. There is one really interesting thing about the Charged Buster on Model X. It's got like the main shot, which is a large blue bullet, but it also has 2 orbiting pink shots that go around it. And they have an interesting property where if the main shot like hits a solid object and ceases to exist, the pink shots can fly out in angles. And we can actually use that to our advantage in some cases to fire them at things that we normally wouldn't be able to aim at. So you see here, that pink shot flies up at an angle and hits the enemy that's like off screen above us. Because normally in this model we don't have any way of attacking them above us. You only shoot horizontally. And that'll also be really important on this upcoming boss, who is an airplane, and it flies too high for us to shoot. Normally, the only way to hit it is to blow up the explosive blocks that it drops underneath it, but we can get a little bit of extra damage by firing these charge shots in very precise ways so that those pink shots will fly up at an angle and hit the plane for extra damage. If the runner does that successfully 3 times in a row, they'll be able to skip a cycle here. You can hardly even see it because like everything hits the plane all at once, but that's 2 out of 3 so far. Perfect. There's another one on that saw blade for good measure. So that wraps up the other of these introductory quests, and then we get some various cutscenes that happen. One really nice thing about running this game is that as long as you have a completed save file on your system, you can skip every cutscene instantly. So the speedrun is very action-packed. On top of the upside that I mentioned earlier of it resetting the random number generator. So a lot of story stuff just happened and we skipped right through it, and now we're on to the opening highway. A clear Mega Man X homage here, complete with giant bees. This will wrap up like the intro sequence of the game, basically. One thing about boss fights in this game is that, in general, when you hit a boss, they are going to get like invincibility frames for a while, like you would generally expect in a Mega Man game. There is sort of a combo system though, where if you use certain attacks in sequence, then you can hit the boss repeatedly, even through their invincibility. And that's going to be a major part of the quick kill strategies. There isn't that much we can do here in Model X, but you can charge up to like 2 full charges and shoot them in sequence at the boss, and both will hit, even through the invincibility. So that's sort of our only strategy for speeding things up, basically, is just getting the full charge, shooting twice, repeating. The fight itself will be against our friend and mentor, Giro, who is not Zero, but is using the Model Z, which like mimics his abilities. The fight, there's not a whole lot to it, especially because we know exactly which attacks he's going to do, so it's just charging and shooting. A lot of dramatic storyline stuff happens that we skip through instantly, and we are granted the eponymous Model ZX. It combines the abilities of Model Z and Model X. So, essentially, we don't just have the gun anymore, we now also have a sword. It does lose the ability to do that, like, the double charge that we were using on the boss fight, but it makes up for it. Since we've cleared out those intro stages, we do get to like move into what I would call the main missions of the game. There's 8 of them. 4 of them are to unlock the other main models that we'll get access to, and then there will be 4 more that power up those models. The one we're going for first is the Lightning model, Model HX, which is mimicking Harpuia from Mega Man Zero. And we're going for that one first because it is wildly overpowered. It's by far the best model in the game, both in terms of like general utility and usability, and also just raw power, like boss quick kills. It's got it all, really. So we're going for that one first. We make our way to this power plant, and we're gonna get through it with pretty traditional Mega Man style gaming. Even though we've got the sword now, we're still gonna mostly prefer to kill the regular enemies in the path with the gun. Anytime you hit an enemy with a melee attack like the sword, it does freeze the game for 4 frames of hit lag. So we prefer to use the gun when possible. Where the sword does shine is on boss kills. Like we talked about the combo attacks that let you hit enemies in sequence. The sword is a lot better for that. You can do like spinning jump slash over and over, and then a walking slash, and then a 3-hit combo on the ground, all in a sequence. And you can take out like half of a boss's health bar in one combo. It's really strong. You can also do a trick like this where he's going to wiggle back and forth with the charge attack on this mini boss. Oop. And you can just get like a sequence of multiple hits with a single charge attack, depending on how good you are at the wiggle. I think he got like 4 hits on one of those charges, and that was quite good actually. It makes for a pretty quick kill there. Definitely way faster than actually charging the sword up 4 times in a row. Alright, we're coming up on our first of the bosses that drop the biometals. And they do have a sort of a special mechanic called a weak point, where if you hit that, you can deal a little extra damage, but it will also damage the model that we're going to get from the boss. And we want to avoid that. So Ame is going to be doing his combo attacks in a really specific way to try and avoid the weak point on the boss's wings. So far, so good. Perfect. Gets a level 4 kill by not hitting the weak point a single time. And that means that with the model HX that we're unlocking from this kill, it's going to have a full energy bar. Basically, the other models in the game, they have this additional resource. It's kind of like weapon ammo or energy. And how much of it that the model can hold depends on how much you damage it when you unlock it. You can like repair the model if you do damage it, but obviously in the speedrun we don't want to have to go out of our way to do that. So with model HX in particular, which as I described, it's like super powerful, it's going to be our most used model throughout the run. We really wanted that level 4 kill. So that was really terrific start that we got that. So that's one of the big reset points really, is that high volt fight. It's pretty finicky and very costly if you do mess it up. The game does have like a kind of a Metroidvania setup to it, where all of the regions of the map are connected to each other. Just in like, it's basically just one gigantic area that's all linked up. So most missions are going to start like this, where we'll teleport to an area, we'll have to traverse some amount of distance to actually get to where the level starts for real, and then we do that mission. In this case, we have to go through the opening highway here again. This time though, in Model ZX, so we got a little bit of different options at least for these bees. Some more of the wiggling with the saber charge there. We're also hoping to pick up some energy for that Model HX that we unlocked. Those green energy drops that you just missed the small one there, but hopefully we'll get a good amount from these regular enemies as we go, and then the model will be ready to go when we need it. There's 2 things the energy gets used for. You can use the charged attacks, which they're like special abilities of the model that will use up some amount of energy every time. And then you can also toggle in overdrive mode, which just like powers you up in general overall. You do double damage with everything, and your attacks will take on elemental properties when you have that on. You'll see on this guy here, we toggle the overdrive on for a moment, hit the large enemy to kill it in one hit, and then turn the overdrive off right away, right after. That way, we're not spending more of the energy than we need to, because it will drain continuously over time if you leave it on. And that is a precious resource that we need to conserve. I mentioned the elemental attribute. There is sort of like elemental rock, paper, scissors, basically, where lightning beats fire, fire beats ice, and ice beats lightning. So the reason why we went to this mission in the first place is, as as the fire mission, it's got a fire element boss. We'll be able to take advantage of that weakness by using our lightning model, HX, to tremendous effect. Apart from that, the model also has air dashes, both horizontally and vertically, and just really powerful saber attacks with a bunch of combo moves. Pretty similar to ZX in that aspect. So it's really good for boss kills in that way. You can chain a bunch of attacks in sequence, and if you combine that with the damage increase of turning overdrive on, then it's really tremendous. If you also combine that with the damage increase of an elemental bonus, then it's just absurd, because that ends up being a total of 4 times damage in that instance. We'll get a good demonstration of that when we get to the boss of this mission coming up. I think we are going to go for a level 4 kill on this boss as well, by like avoiding the weak points. HP's kind of low, but it should be fine. Alright, so here's the boss fight. Do not blink, or you will miss it. Perfect. 5 hits. Doesn't touch the weak point, which is like his face, basically. So we unlock the model FX. It's going to have a full energy bar as well. Or at least a full maximum energy. We still need to actually pick up the drops to fill it up. And we're off to a great start, really. Since we just got the fire model, logically we'll go to the ice level next. Again, taking advantage of the weakness. But first, as usual, there's a little bit of a travel time to get there. There's going to be an upcoming a wall climb, which will show off sort of an interesting aspect of the game's movement mechanics. Normally when you wall jump, you get like pushed away from the wall some amount. If you do an attack while you're wall jumping though, it keeps you really close to the wall and you can like jump up it much more quickly than you'd be able to otherwise. Here's our model FX. It's got like dual arm cannons that shoot these large oranges. Hoping to see a little bit more energy, but at least we got one small drop along the way. A little bit more. So we'll be able to use the fire property of our attacks in this form to break through the ice blocks in the level. And then of course when we end up getting to the boss, it'll be effective against her as well. Thankfully there is a large energy capsule just sitting out here on the ground, so even though he didn't get very many drops, at least he does have that guaranteed every time. Switch back to HX real quick for taking advantage of its movement capabilities, really. And we'll also use it for the mini-boss here. Even faster than we fought it with ZX. Taking advantage of an interesting mechanic that we'll talk about it on a different mini-boss where it's more visible what's happening, but normally it wouldn't be possible to kill that thing in just 2 combos like that. But for now, we've mostly wrapped up the level and we're on our way to the boss, which Model FX isn't terrific at fighting bosses. It doesn't have very many attacks that combo into each other. There is sort of an interesting trick on this boss in particular, though, where she's actually got like 2 parts of her body. There's the lure that's hanging out in front, and then her whole fish body, and they have separate invincibility times. So we'll do like one big combo to the front, and then shoot the fish that's off screen, and it lets us kill effectively in a single combo, which normally wouldn't be possible. We didn't get a perfect level 4 kill there, but it doesn't really matter. We don't care that much about model LX. We'll use it at a few points in the run, but we don't need it to have like the full energy bar. So I mentioned that each of the models has like 2 pieces that we need to collect throughout the run. You fight one boss for each model to actually unlock it, and then you fight a second one that'll power it up to its full form. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head to the second of the lightning bosses to get our FX powered up. Take a damage boost to stand on the spikes, punch out this wall, and this unlocks a little shortcut area that lets us skip most of this stage, including a pretty annoying mini-boss. You switch to LX, pick up some energy. LX, it has powerful attacks, but it doesn't combo very well. It's basically just like 2-hit combos, and that's all you get. Which, it's still good enough, especially on like a lightning boss where you're getting that elemental weakness. So, it's still quick, but it's not quite as devastating as using FX was.
このゲーム HX っていうですねモデルをひたすら使う RTA になってますんで、できればレベル4で倒して緑ゲージをね。
So it looked like we only got a level 3 kill there. I think the runner did hit Hurricane's weak point there once, which is unfortunate. It means our model HX is only going to have like 7/8 of its full energy bar, but that'll still be enough for what we need. It'll just make some parts a little bit tighter on energy. At this point, since we've cleared 4 of the regular missions, it sends us to this inner mission. We're gonna jump off a nice platform, which is the model LX charge attack. That just saves us from having to ride the elevator up. And then we have to kill these boarding pods. FX is really good for these because with 2 arm cannons, you can just like double mash these bullets out and destroy these pods really quickly. Especially if your mash is good. FX is really good for enemies like this where like they've got a lot of health, but they're not bosses. They don't have iframes, so you can just mash out like that. It's also going to be really good for this hallway full of random enemies, so we can just gun them down as we go and hopefully pick up some energy drops. I don't think I saw any there, which is unlucky. Prometheus is fire element, which is unfortunate for him. If you ever find yourself in the Mega Man ZX universe and you have to pick your elemental weakness, do not choose to be weak to lightning. It is bad news. You can see since we've powered up Model HX to the second form, the maximum energy has grown substantially. It also unlocks a second charge attack that the model can do, which is like a powerful tornado. I don't think we'll be seeing that in this stage, but it will come up a few times later in the run, and it's, like all of HX's abilities, pretty terrifically strong. We are going to be coming up on a mini-boss here, which we'll be using a technique we've used a couple times, including on the Crush Pactor thing in the Ice Boss earlier. Basically, if you put more than one hitbox on an enemy at the same time, then the game will just like alternate between the two of them, hitting every single frame. And obviously that'll kill almost anything really quickly. A nice thing about HX is if you do the standing 3-hit combo on the ground, the final hit will shoot out like a shockwave, and it just automatically damage stacks like that, and it'll kill this boss instantly. A single hit, more or less. I mean, technically it was like 20 hits that all happened all at once, but a single combo, and it just shreds through it. Again, that's the sort of thing that gets used on mini bosses that don't have iframes. Regular bosses. You have to use real combos on the real bosses. Not that they live much longer for it. You can see our energy meters there. It's like, it's at about a quarter. It's not great. Keeping that meter filled it's a pretty essential part of the run. You have to conserve and manage that resource pretty much from the moment that you first unlock Model HX. So it's looking a bit low, but we are going to have some opportunities here to refill it. The next couple missions aren't going to be using HX as much, so that'll be a nice opportunity to hopefully stock up for the end game. That got us our second form of, or like our upgraded form of Model FX, but we don't really care about the other models' upgraded forms. Like the full charge attack of FX and LX are very cool, but not terrifically practical in the speedrun. Ooh, we got a big energy drop from one of those saw blades, so things are looking up, honestly. You love to see it. Honestly, the run's been super good so far. No major time losses at all, really. Just the small stuff that adds up. That pretty much always happens, especially in a marathon run. Ame did pick up an E-tank for marathon safety, and he did use it once, just to keep up his health in that last mission. Definitely recommended. This is a game where like even just completing the speedrun is pretty genuinely difficult, no matter how good you are at it. The game is hard. It's really easy to die. It's really easy to just like run out of energy or mess up your boss kills and things like that. It's rough. Ooh. Yeah, like that. That's okay. Small losses. We do get to see some of the value of Model LX here. Apart from killing lightning element bosses, it also has the upside of being good at moving underwater. And it can even do these like underwater dashes infinitely in 8 directions. So very good mobility down here. Mini boss here. We're going to release a charge attack right at the start, just as a little RNG minute. And then switch to HX and go for a damage stack on this arm. Almost one-shot it. That's pretty good. Unlucky pattern though. You want to get the patterns where like the tentacle comes out and you can actually hit them. When you get the fish, it's just a time loss with nothing you can do about it. That's not bad though. Just one set of fish. We can live with that. Okay, making our way through the rest, and then it's on to the boss. Who again, ice element boss. We're going to use the fire model. This one doesn't have the same trick of like the 2 bodies that we used on the other one, so we're just going to have to kill it in 2 combos. There's no way to do it in one with FX. Still super fast though. Now at this point, with the mission complete, there's actually 2 ways we can go to get out of this area. Heading to the right like this, it's like, I would call it a shortcut out of the stage, but it turns out that it's actually faster to just like switch back into LX, turn around, and go back the way you came. The reason we don't do that in the speedrun though is by taking this route, we can pick up a lot of energy. Like there's that guaranteed large capsule in the ground that he just grabbed, and then there's also just a bunch of these random soldier dudes on the way that we can shoot down. So even though it's like maybe a second slower to go this route, it's in theory worth it because you can pick up these energy drops along the way. Amesiyo did get very unlucky there actually though with the guys not dropping any. So hopefully we're not going to have any catastrophic energy shortages in this run. I think we'll be alright. It is kind of frustrating and concerning when you don't see those drops. Now, if you've been keeping count at home, I did say there were models based on the 4 Guardians from the Mega Man Zero series, and we've only gotten 3 of them so far. The reason we've put off Model PX, the last one, for so long is because it's just really not very good. Like, we're gonna go unlock it now because we have to do the missions to progress the game, but we're actually just never going to use that model. Which is kind of a shame because it is really cool, but it just, like, it doesn't do enough damage, it doesn't have good combo attacks, and it also doesn't have an elemental property, so you can't take advantage of boss weaknesses with it. So it just ends up not making the cut for the speedrun, unfortunately. Even though, like I say, it is very cool. This is also a good time to do the mission because it's like, it's in the same general area as that last one we just finished. So it makes a lot of sense to chain them together in this order. Pick up some energy on the roof. Oh, we're actually doing a lot better on energy than I realized, because his HX is capped out there. Yeah, we're fine. No energy crisis here. We are going to see our first instance of the fully charged HX, the tornado I mentioned. Very good against, well, I was going to say it's good against mini bosses. It's also very good against regular bosses. It's just overpowered. Ooh, bad pattern. I wonder if he knows the RNG minute on this one. It is a bit of a finicky one, because you don't get a cutscene skip right before the mini boss, so you don't get like the guaranteed RNG setup like you do on most fights. Still fast though. Just lost a little bit from a unlucky first attack. Now we're gonna make our way over to the boss, and similar to the Model PX that we're going to get from him, the boss has no element, which means we cannot take advantage of any weakness, so we'll simply use our most generically powerful model, Model HX, of course. That's 1, 2 combos. Not bad.
このモデル HX が強すぎて、このパーベルという敵はですね、無属性なんですが、なんと瞬殺できてしまうんです。これが連殺と。
This is another level where there's a couple different ways you could go once you complete it. In this case, though, we are just going to go back the way we came, because doing that will put us exactly where we need to go for the next mission, which is the final one of like the regular set of missions. So we're just gonna backtrack through, not the whole area, just like the second half of this level, basically. Ooh, okay.
あーっと
Fell down the pit a little bit, but
大丈夫
with
です大丈夫です
HX's like
何もなかった
hover ability there, managed to stay high enough to get to the platform.
さあセイバーを入れな
That
が
was
ら
a good save.
進んでいきますさあなんかさあ下降りて
And we switch back to ZX here, which
はい
a model we haven't seen very much of in the run.
はい先に進んでいく
Basically, we're just going to use
さあここか
the
ら
good ranged attack on the model
レベルですね
to take out obstacles and enemies at a distance here.
謎のテンポは
Hopefully refill some of the energy we spent on that last mission.
そういうことは覚えておいてくださいさあここ先にバスターをどんどん
This stage does have like a few annoying obstacles where they're like these little radio towers, and if you walk into their range while they're enabled, some of them will disable your dash, which is obviously really bad, and the other ones will disable your weapons, which can be pretty annoying as well. So VX is a good option here because we can just use the charged buster shots to disable those radio towers at a safe distance, or just to get through like these annoying barrels and large blocks in the way. This area is super satisfying to move through in a speedrun. It is like an absolute disaster area. There's the bombs dropping, enemies everywhere, pits, spikes, random jetpack dudes. So it is dangerous and chaotic, but if you've got the movement down just right and you can just cleanly breeze through it, it feels good. It looks good too. Just barely clear the spike pit both times, and we're at the boss. We switch back to HX for the relatively quick kill. Again, no weakness to take advantage of here, but we can drop a tornado on him, let that do like half of his health, and then just finish him with one combo there. And that's it for the regular 8 missions of the game. With those finished, we're ready to move on to the end game already. Just like that. Not quite the final stage, there are a couple levels to go through first, but we're getting there. Okay, so we gotta go back to base just for some story stuff and some cutscenes.
さあ、まあもう終盤じゃないと思ってらっしゃる方もいらっしゃると思いますが、まだまだあります。まだまだあります。さあ、プレリーと話して、このゲーム、同じステージを行き来しないといけない関係で、まあ、非常に
How are we doing so far? It's been an action-packed run. Haven't had many opportunities for a breather so far. But the run's going well. There was that one little death in the underwater level earlier, but it was just small losses. It's honestly been a really impressive marathon run so far. We do have to backtrack through this intro area one last time. Again, hopefully picking up some energy as we go. You'll see, like, he's killing enemies and then kind of just, like, waiting where they're dying for a moment sometimes. That's just basically hoping that they're gonna drop in energy, because it is such a precious resource that it's worth taking those moments to hopefully restock. Didn't quite fill the bar, but it's a decent amount. We are going to be taking advantage of a unique ability of Model FX here. He's modifying the firing pattern of his arm cannons, so now the bullets he shoots are going to go up and then over, and that'll allow him to mash down this eagle who's floating in the air. Oop, unlucky pattern. Ooh, unlucky twice in a row. So, this is a bit of a time loss. The ideal scenario is the eagle just like floats in its spot, does a different attack, and you can just mash it down all at once. So that's unlucky. Bit of a time loss. But it is what it is.
本当にこれやっていいですか？
はい、大丈夫です。
やりますじゃあ。
やってください。死んだら見てきて。
We got an interesting room coming up here where it's got like basically this rising and lowering water level, and if the water level goes too high, it's gonna affect our movement at the end of the room. Ooh, dash right into the spikes. Yeah, hate to see it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it makes it one of the tougher rooms to do because apart from just like the general hazards of all the spikes everywhere, you're also time pressured to go through it as quickly as possible to try and beat this water cycle. Ooh, okay, that was awkward and very scary, but impressively, he managed to not die again. I'm 100% certain that if I was in that situation, I would have ended up dead on one of the spikes there. Genuinely very impressive recovery. Here we've got Pandora. No elemental weakness, so we're just going to use the regular old HX combo. Okay. Second to the last stage. Feels like we just started. Little bit of backtracking through this highway area, but we don't have to go through the whole area again. We just go to this ladder that wasn't here before, and then we climb up into the area for the level itself. There's a couple of different like mini boss type encounters here that are actually like refights essentially, but we are going to be handling them in a different way than how we did them in their regular stages. So on this one, for the boarding pods, we're just going to use damage stacks with model HX. You'll notice Amesiyo is only activating the overdrive on the second pod of each pair. That's because the timing of like how quickly you kill the first pod, it doesn't really matter, as long as you do in fact kill it reasonably fast. The second pod in each pair, on the other hand, it dying is what triggers like the next part of the fight to begin. So that's the one where it's worth using the energy to make the kills faster. And then we're coming up on a repeat of the weird tentacle fish creature. Unfortunately, we do not have any RNG manip possible for this one, so we just have to get lucky, which he does. He gets an attack that he can hit twice in a row. Ooh, didn't get the kill on that one though. He really would have wanted that. And then that pattern he got as the third one. You can't actually damage the boss on that one, so ends up getting it in 4 cycles, which is fine. He is probably beating himself up a little bit though that he didn't get the kill on that second cycle, because it was really close. Then we get a fight against Prometheus and Pandora together, but unfortunately Prometheus is still weak to lightning, so Pandora doesn't really get to do anything. They just lose all the health instantly due to their unfortunate weakness. But with that, we're on to the final stage. It's everything you would expect from a Mega Man final stage. It's got refights, it's got long elevator rides. That's about it.
お願い。
It's alright though. The elevator rides aren't actually that long, and we are going to take advantage of them to hopefully pick up some energy from these enemies on the way.
この左側の緑のゲージを本当にいっぱいこのボスラッシュ
You can see that we're
使うので
a bit under half energy there.
ひたすら食べたいところなんですが
Not ideal. We're going to need a lot of that stuff for these refights, and we haven't gotten any drops yet, so... Okay, there was one small one.
ないといけないかもしれません
One more for the road? Okay,
ですが
not bad.
まあまあまあいいでしょう緑が
これなら全然まあ
Flamethrower guys came through for us at the end.
で上にオーバーして LX になります
First refights are against the lightning bosses, so we'll use LX for that weakness, of course.
限りしたくないと思いますはい最初チャージ
It was nice on the refight here against High Volt that we don't need to do like the tricky saber combos on him this time.
いや
The Hurricane refight, on the other hand, will be pretty much exactly as we saw when we fought her in her stage.
ー練習でもあんな感じだったんでちょっと
しょうがないですはいさあ次ハリケーンですねさあまずラン
Just 1, 2, 1, 2.
左右に振り向いてさあ素晴らしいちなみにここから先はレベルは気にしなくていいので本当に弱点部位いくら当てても大丈夫です問題ありません
Next up will be the ice bosses, so we're going to switch to FX ahead of time. That way we can kill the enemies in this elevator ride with attacks that will not generate hit lag. 'Cause, again, we don't want to use melee attacks when we can avoid it. You can see his firing pattern on those orange shots. It's still modified from when he changed it for the Eagle mini boss, which it will slightly affect the way he has to shoot at the
過去最高
like the boss refights coming up. But other than that, they'll be pretty much identical to what we saw in their actual stages.
さあ次は FX で右から行くのでこれレグアンカーですね
はいちょっと安定で
はいでここも倒し方は基本的に一緒です、2発当ててチャージショット2発当ててチャージショットです
Ooh, missed the punch at the end of the second combo there, but not a big deal. Just recharges it up, finishes the fight. And then for Lure, like we saw the first time, goes for a big combo on her, like the angler fish lure up front, and then is going to shoot the big fish that'll be off screen for the finishing blow. Ooh, we actually got to see him, which you don't want to see him, but it is nice for the stream that you get to actually see the thing that I was talking about.
まあ練習してもねちょっと失敗することがあるようなところなんですが、なんとか、しっかり準備ですね。
あーちょっと様子見ですね
Okay.
様子見ちょっと
Little hallway,
攻めてもいいので
as always, hoping to pick up a little energy on the way if we can.
ここからゲージをちょっとためにかかります。
Yeah, goes back for that one because he saw it dropped after he moved on.
あこれだったらでも
Had it happen again on one of the other guys, but decided not to go back.
さあでここからは HX で、
Which
進んでいくので、
may end up regretting that, but he does have another elevator ride here, so hopefully we can fill out the bar.
まあもう取れば本当に
Oh, good start.
おおいいですね
Alright, we're good. Fully stocked.
あそうですねそうですね
Even got some extra, which
いやちょっともっと早く
そうそうですね
doesn't actually do much.
ね
今じゃないんだよな
今じゃないですよね
I don't think we're using any of the other models in the rest of the run here.
ねえ許せないですね
Well, not the other ones that use energy, at least. One thing that you may be able to notice
はいフィソレ
is maximum energy bar on HX is bigger than it was before. Because he got the perfect level 4 kill on the Hurricane refight, the one that he missed when he fought her the first time, it repairs the model when you do that. So now he's got the full like level 8 maximum size energy bar, which is really nice because we need a ton of that stuff for
許してください
the end of the run here.
なかなかミスらないとこなんですが、ちょっとミスってしまいましたね。
いやマジ緊張しますね本当に
One last elevator ride for the road.
すいません
本当にね、皆様温かくね、見守っていただければ、温かくわかんない。
まあ
Maybe pick up some refills.
うん
Good start.
温かく見守っていただければ。はいさあ あ、緑ちょっと欲しいかなぐらいですが、
そうですね。どっちかって言ったら今回復が、
そうですね、回復が欲しいですね。この後、基本的に、いいですね。
いいですね。
フルでダメージわざと
One more?
で戦うタイミングがあるので、ちょっとここは体力が欲しいかという形になりますね。しかし、まあ、体力をちゃんとね、マックスで、済ませられたので、
Nope.
問題ないでしょう。
Okay, so not quite capped out, but
まあないでしょう。
it's a good amount.
さあ、最初はパワフリーですね。
そうですね。
はい、左からいきます。
Refights of these lads.
やり方やります。ちょっと難しいんですが、さあ、いけるでしょうか。空中ダッシュ切りから左
You can fight these guys with Model ZX instead to conserve energy, and the ZX kills are still pretty quick on these guys, but it definitely is a time loss. Okay, he uses the E-Tank, but he is willing to stick to HX for the kills. This Protectos refight in particular, you end up taking like, multiple damage boosts just for the sake of being able to get in for the combos, so it is nice to have that E-Tank as a backup, otherwise you're spending a lot of health and you don't have much to spare. We're gonna refill again, switch to ZX, neat little trick, buffer the release of a green shot there, and it guarantees a drop of a large energy capsule on that first dude. Just a little bit of a RNG manipulation on that drop. Okay. Can't get any final energy drops. I'm not sure if his HX is topped off or not, but I think he has enough either way. We are going to fight the first form of the final boss here with ZX, so we're going to see those long saber combos again. This is another fight where it would be faster to just do it in HX, but we need so much energy for the final form of the final fight that unless you're like, I don't know, really ambitious and confident, you don't really want to be spending energy on that fight. Oh yeah, especially since we were missing a good amount. It's got 3 forms. We're just going to drop a tornado on each one with the overdrive bonus damage. There's a little bit of RNG on this pattern. Okay, we got the good pattern. Didn't quite get the kill, but picked it up afterwards. And that is the run, as they say. Really good marathon run. Like I said, this is not an easy game to complete the speed run of. It's not like, I don't know, a lot of speed games, you figure out the strats, you get good at them, and like, okay, you can go through the run anytime. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower. Not quite the case with ZX. This is a game where it's really easy to just outright lose the run, and I would find it a very stressful game to run in a marathon setting because of like how easy it is to die and having to constantly worry about how much energy you have and if you have enough to do the quick kills. So this was a really terrific marathon run, honestly. I'm glad I got the opportunity to commentate it. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
GDQ の他にですね、レイド RTA マラソンというイベントに、1月2日の、13時頃から、このロックマン6でまた走らせていただきますので、よければそちらもお願いいたします。
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。
じゃあ、もどくさんとかは。
はい、まあ僕もレイド RTA なんですが、僕と、まあ他の方も運営で入ってるんですが、私たち運営が、1、2、3でレイド RTA っていうね、Twitch のレイド機能を利用した、イベントを開催します。RTA Japan In Japan が終わってもまだまだ RTA が見れるので、皆さんよろしくお願いいたします。お願いします。はい、ということで以上ですかね。はい、そうですね。はい、じゃあ、これにて終了させていただきます。最後、リザルトを出していただきます。そうですね。はい。
What's up next on the schedule?
ゲームタイムを確認して終了というのがこのゲームの
Inscription.
はい、53分41秒。はい。ということで皆 皆さんお疲れ様でした。ありがとうございました。
Unfortunately, I don't think we have English commentators lined up for the next couple of runs. So I imagine this stream's going down. I don't know. It's I'm not in charge here. I think I'll just say thank you all and good night and then disappear forever.